Before I start this episode, let me ask you something. Who taught you how to feel, how to regulate your emotions? Not how to smile, not how to look into the camera and say cheese, not how to put on a face for the world to see while crying out in silence, but how to actually process your emotions, how to deal and confront that anger, sadness, how to handle heartbreak and really give yourself time to grieve, how to sit with anxiety or even understand why you feel the way you may feel about things, how to not be okay and know that not being okay is okay. Because for a lot of us, no one ever did. And yet, we're still expected to function like everything is okay, even when it may not be. So today, we're going to be talking about something interesting, deep. We're going to be talking about survival, healing, identity, and ultimately when it's time to go to therapy and the power of it. And ultimately, really, what it means to unlearn everything that we thought was normal. So with that being said, welcome to Outreach with Reggie. I am your host, Reginald Holloway. It is an honor and a privilege for you to click on this episode. It was an honor and privilege for me that you chose OWR as your podcast listening station on your respective platforms. No matter where you're listening right now, I want to say thank you, and I hope you're having a great day. With that being said, we're going to be getting into therapy. I thought about this as this year in 2026, I actually started my therapy journey, and it has had me to confront a lot of things from my childhood, a lot of things for how I regulate my emotions and how I deal with things now, and what things are okay, and when other things that I've made to be okay that really aren't okay. And sometimes we need to be honest with ourselves when we have put things passively on the back burner that weren't okay. The times when you've been disrespected in the means of a good joke. The times when you've been or felt unseen or trying to fit in communities that aren't really your community. And the times where you felt like you wanted to say something and wanted to express how you felt, not that being amongst family, friends, loved ones, any place that you felt like you feel like you belong and never got a chance to. Feel like therapy is a good way to do that. But as I write this, or as I go into this episode, I wanted you to ask yourself before we even get into it, what is a safe space for you right now? Is it amongst your friends? Can you look at your friends right now and say, yeah, I get a safe space amongst them? Or do you have to maybe second guess a few things? Do you have safe space amongst communities that you serve or that you're a part of? Do you have a safe space to have conversations surrounding your mental health with family, within your relationships? These are things that is needed. As you go on out to the world and do amazing things, when you come home, does home feel like home? If not, if so, I'm happy for you and I commend you and I'm proud of you for finding a space that is your own. If not, I'm not saying for you and I'm not advocating for anybody to cut anything off, but I would require you or request for you or even suggest that maybe therapy is something that you should look at. And it doesn't always start, or acknowledgement doesn't always start in the moment. And none of the things that you're enduring right now come from the present moment where everything's going downhill. Oftentimes enough, chaos doesn't happen in the midst of it. It often happens in the early steps. But what are the early steps? And this is what I learned in therapy, along with spending some private time in self-reflection. That it starts with the foundation, early in time. So as we go into this first topic, we have to understand where it all begins. Think about the very first time that you felt something big. When you were able to feel emotions, well before you knew what emotions really were. When you felt fear, scared, when you saw that scary movie during Halloween time. When you felt love in the air, had your favorite crush. When you felt angry when somebody did something to you, bullied you, harmed you in any way. Sadness, being sad about something, to lose something, loss, the grief of something. And take all of those things and put yourself in the position of where you were as a child. When you didn't have the words for what you're feeling. You didn't have the tools, or you just felt. And whoever was around you in that moment taught you, consciously or not, what to do with that feeling. That's where it all begins. The introduction of emotions in early childhood. And where does it start? Well, oftentimes enough, your family was your first emotional classroom. How did the adults around you handle conflict? Did people talk it out? Did they yell? Or did they go silent for days? When the bills came, when the financial responsibilities came, when it came to who's going to cook dinner, to who's going to clean this house, to how well can you show up for who you are regarding family roles? How were conflicts handled? Whether you watched it, lived it, whether you watched it or whether you lived it, that became your emotional blueprint. How you saw things handled is how you perceived how things should be taken on. And most importantly, how conflicts occur, how severe they got, and most importantly, how they got resolved. If they got resolved at all, became the catalyst for what you took in. And what about stress? Bills are stressful as an adult now. Loans and other things that come with being an adult. When things got hard, arguments, bad days, hard conversations, how did people that were raising you cope with those things? That being biological family, foster family, chosen family, how did they cope? Did they pray? Did they lean on God? Was there therapy, counseling? Or did they lean into their vices? Did they drink? Did they cheat? Or did they walk away? Did they go for a walk? Or did they talk to someone else? We absorb all of those actions because we trust as a child, or you trust as a child, that these are the proper ways to handle those things. It isn't until that we see that the actions and who they're affecting that we know, oh, dad cheating on mom makes mom sad, so it's probably not the best way to handle it. Or mom abandoning the family and making dad stressed out, so now he's drinking, probably isn't the best way that this should have been held based on how the bills are stacking. It's the absorbing of all of that the child endures, and it becomes the child until we decide to look at it with a keen eye in the sight at that point that that's not okay. But within saying that, I want to ask a question. Within, if that has ever showed up in your home, within your family, amongst your family throughout the duration of your childhood, was there a safe space to be uncomfortable? As contradictory as that is to say, a safe space for discomfort, to have the hard conversation, that being with your family or amongst your family. Were you able to tell your dad who screamed at you, the disciplinarian, that being your mom or your dad, hey, I didn't like the way that you screamed at me. It made me feel really sad. Was there understanding? Was there opportunity to have that hard conversation to say how you felt about what your mom and dad did, or what your parental figure did? Or did they completely shut it off because you were, quote unquote, not being in the child's place? Did they avoid the hard thing, or did they confront it head on? The actions of a trusted adult or what they did to you. Conversations that confront our beliefs, our understandings of the world, or what makes, or the protecting ourselves, or protecting of your innocence. Was there a space to be uncomfortable and to say the thing that you've been avoiding, your emotions, to hear something like that, to be confronted, to say, you made me feel this way and I didn't like it? That stings, to know that someone we love feels like we hurt them. Accountability, it's a hard thing, but it's a needed thing. And it's something that teaches us the most valuable skills that you can ever have. To be held accountable is a privilege, and it's a necessity. It requires deeper level of understanding within that. Patience, to understand, to forgive ourselves. And sometimes that doesn't happen within those hard conversations. That may happen much, much later, but give yourself patience with that too. So within that, what did your household teach you about emotions without saying a single word? What in your household did you learn within your childhood about how emotions were regulated, shaped you where you are right now? That's an important question. And this is needed to understand where you are now. Because as we talk about that, we must talk about the styles of conflict, right? Stress and coping. How conflict showed up in your home is often how conflict shows up in your current life right now. Was conflict loud and aggressive? Because when we talk about exposure, early exposure to things, we must talk about the early exposure to conflict. Was it loud and aggressive? Was it abusive? Was it understanding, or did it lead itself to loud, abrasive conversations that led to the exposure of cuss words, violence, abuse? Or was it silent and avoidant? Did people walk away? Was it passive aggressive, filled with sarcasm, raised in the house of sarcasm? All these things matter because no one sat us down and said, here is how you handle stress in a healthy way. And if you have, I am proud of you and I commend you for being in a home where emotions mattered. And if not, my wish to you is, as you go on and go forth in this world, and if you have a family one day, maybe this is something that you can subscribe to, providing a space for these conversations to be had about conflict. But along with conflict, we must address how stress is regulated, and even more so, coping mechanisms. How were things were coped? We talked about it a little bit within prayer, or were you giving into your vices? Oftentimes enough, we learned sometimes coping mechanisms looked like, and often what we learned by watching, coping being shutting down. Mom or dad or your parental figure may went outside after our argument, may had something to alleviate their stress, that being alcohol consumption, sometimes it's smoking, sometimes it's more, sometimes it's lashing out. We're escaping via phones, games, substances, isolation. Oftentimes it led many to, unfortunately, cheat, find elsewhere. Regardless of such, some of our coping mechanisms that we learned kept the family together on shooken ground, kept them alive, kept the family together, kept the marriage together that we knew was falling apart. Oftentimes enough, some people stayed together for the kid. But there's a difference between keeping it alive and being able to live. Being alive versus living. Surviving versus thriving. But I could go much more into that on a different day. I want to talk more as we get further on the topic about those years where you're no longer into childhood, but now you're into the preteen years, the puberty years, when you're getting familiar with yourself from biologically along mentally, and how your emotions are fluctuating. And as we go into that, we have to talk about things as your body is doing things you didn't ask for it to do. You're getting that hair on your chest. You're starting to get a deeper voice. You're starting to get taller. Your emotions are fluctuating. Hormones are coming in. Everything's changing all at once. And your body, your emotions are louder than ever. And on top of all of that, society hands you a script that you didn't write, a script that's based on your race, your class, how much money your family has, your gender. And it tells you exactly how you're supposed to feel, how you react to society, how you show up within the day, how much you're allowed to show of yourself, and how you're integrated into systems that you're participating in, as in the institution of school, after school activities, your interest, and what it means for you when you're asking or you're in need of help to regulate your emotions effectively without having to lessen or shrink yourself. For a lot of us, especially young men of color, that script is to be said, be a man, be tough, don't cry, and figure it out. Within saying that, there's a lot of young black men, there's a lot of young men in total that don't know how to currently regulate their emotions. And I can admit, at times, and I learned this in therapy, I myself have trouble regulating my emotions at times due to feeling these exact same things. And I'm here to tell you that it's okay. What's not okay is not seeking help. Don't be ever afraid to seek help. Because oftentimes enough, as you're that preteen or the teenager, what happens next is you're transitioning into adulthood. And as you go from that young boy who there is a very precious arms wrapped around you regarding the innocence of your childhood, those arms quickly open up and release you directly into adulthood. And suddenly the stakes are a lot higher. The fears are real, and you begin to ask questions as you're transitioning, that being if college is on the horizon or if you're looking to join the workforce. Or are you looking to be an entrepreneur? You begin to compare where you are amongst your friends and amongst others. Those who have had the luxury to grow up in spaces where emotions were talked about, where dreams and aspirations were allowed to be felt and to be explored, avenues allowed to be chased through. You find yourself comparing, and then you begin to ask questions like, are you enough? Do you know what you're doing? Who are you? Who am I? It's the biggest thing that comes about while everybody else is figuring out, or why is everybody else figuring it out faster than me? That support was supposed to be there. For some, sometimes it just isn't. And the world's expectations for you don't ever slow down, or it does not ever match up to give you the time to ask those questions of yourself. While you're attempting to catch up, it's like the Tom and Jerry cycle over and over again. Chasing. The fear of missing out, right? Because here's where it compounds. Your lived experience within the institution of family and the institution of your home shapes your outlook, your beliefs, your attitudes, your entire mindset, what you believe through the filters of how you see the world. And when no one ever helps you process those experiences you experienced in your childhood and within most of your teenage years, they stack up and they meet you right where you are into adulthood, quietly, until it doesn't become quiet anymore. And when you add social media into the mix, seeing what people's highlights are and what they choose to put out into the world, now you're comparing your insides to everyone else's highlight reel. Fear of missing out becomes a constant hum in the background. You're watching people's lives. You're watching people go on to college, do amazing things in this world, right? Seeing people make millions of dollars, but not knowing what it took to get them there. If it came from an innocent place, or does it come under hidden or fake ways? It may not be legal how they got what they got. It may not be morally correct of how they got to where they've been. But you can't tell that off of social media. It isn't until it reveals itself to be true. And social media has given a space where people can be their most authentic self or alter the way that they appear to be in the world. But somebody may be looking at it and may take social media and say, maybe I'm not doing enough. And that can be very dangerous. To use that as the measuring stick for where you want to be, where you think you are. It's curated, filtered, and performed, and measuring your reality against it, that's not That's not just exhausting, that is dangerous for your mental health. And as social media expectations, along with societal expectations, we also talk about parental expectations, right? For those who are graduating high school, the big question of what are you going to do now? Oftentimes enough, and I'm going to ask this question, right? And I'm not saying, well, I'm saying this as a college graduate. If your mom and dad didn't require you to go to college or didn't suggest college, would you go? Honestly. I went because I figured, hey, college seems good. That's always something I wanted to do, not because, you know, of any outside things. I wanted to make something of myself. And I believed at that point college was the way. But if you didn't have any influence or anybody to tell you, would you go? And if you would go, I'm proud of you for going. If you have been. If you're not, you know, just know that there's more than one way to achieve the success that you're looking for. But yes, the parental expectation. Sometimes it's not even college. Sometimes it's joining the family business. That being, if your family's full of truckers, they may want you to join and get your CDL. If your family has their own restaurant, they may want you to join the restaurant. Need somebody to take the reins after it's time for me to go. And so on and so forth. But the opportunities are endless, but the expectations that are placed on you as soon as you go must be evaluated. Culturally, as you go on, years down the road, how much money do you have? Do you have a car? Do you have a house? Once you graduate from college, it's like, all right, do you have a career? Are you in your career? Then it gets deeper. Marriage, kids, so on and so forth. Relational expectations, which is a lot that's going on right now in the social media space. What do you bring to the table is the infamous question, right? What do you bring to the table as a partner? Peace. And we can go on and on for days, but then it creates an identity crisis. Oftentimes enough, or I believe I talked about this before on the podcast, the quarter life crisis, even the midlife crisis starts to happen. And depending on where you are as time goes on, FOMO becomes more prevalent than ever. And it becomes a deeper need to understand who you are actually, not who you were told to be. It's a requirement. A deeper need to understand who you are actually, not who you were told to be, not what social media says you are, not what you've curated online, not what you've presented yourself to be amongst your friends, your family, but your most authentic self when you are alone. And underneath all of it, the weight of being alone. Even when you're surrounded by people, but being alone, because you've given everybody this great idea of who you are. A pseudo, a profile, right? If you think about Tinder, here's I am, 6 foot something, such and such age. I like long walks on the beach, right? You given the perfect profile of who you want to be selling yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that. You have a lot of beautiful things about you. But in the process, you may be abandoning who you get to be in your true self. So within saying that, we must have to look at where it goes from there. Because it becomes a silent weight. As you transition into adulthood, as expectation increases, before you know it, you start losing people. Support decreases. You're expected now just to know how to live. And now, as you've gotten everything that you worked so hard to get, you make the mistake of being alone, or not make the mistake of being alone. There's no mistakes in this, but you find yourself unknowingly, for a period of time, being alone with your thoughts. Fear of failing, pressure to succeed, along with a lot of the expectations that comes from you as time goes on. Sometimes the strongest people are the ones that carry it in the most silent places. And in that silence, in these times of loneliness or being alone, it's the times where you question everything or how far you've gotten. But we have to go into where we are, or the culture, or what we've normalized. I talked about social media, I talked about family, but I want to tap in a little deeper about culture. Because culture shapes what we consider to be normal, and what we've normalized that has actually been hurting us. There's a difference between what we've made to be okay, that's actually okay, and the things that we've made to be okay that's actually not okay. So let's talk about it. The things that we've made okay that are actually not okay, which is suppressing your emotions until you explode, using alcohol or substances to numb it out, treating burnout like a badge of honor, and ghosting instead of having a hard conversation. Staying in toxic relationships because leaving feels like failure. We've made all of these things normal and it's not. I remember as I grew up, as in my teenage years, within like late late 2000s, within the early 2010s, that amongst, I'll say, music culture, hip hop culture, there was drugs, right? And a lot of my dear friends started doing drugs, lean, weed, and it became a norm amongst my friends to cope. That was their way of coping, to lean on substances as it was okay or it was fine. As I got older, I've seen many adults who I've tried to pick their brains from, and luckily I have healthier representations of what true, authentic work looks like and how to work, working smarter and not harder, and knowing what that actually means. Having work, what you call it, being a workhorse, having good work ethic and knowing what that actually means, the definition of work ethic. And it's not working until you burn out or until you mentally go into a space where it's not healthy and treating it like a badge of honor. It's more so being in a space where you're working and not killing yourself, but working it to know that this is what I have to offer. I'm studying it the right way. I'm doing it the right way. I'm doing it correctly. And I'm doing it just enough time to save enough space to where I can step away and breathe. On the flip side, as I go into that, also the idea of perfectionism, please get out of that. There's not one single person outside of, there's not one single being outside of Jesus Christ that has ever been perfect. There's a, often, I remember there being a quote saying, you can chase perfection, and I may fail on the way to being perfect, but I know I've given it 100% every single day. And if I could do that, I know that I can be okay and I've earned the right for a good day. But with saying all of that, of what we've made okay, that's not okay. On the flip side, and this is the one I want us to really sit with here. There are things that are genuinely healthy and life-giving, that give us life, that pours directly into you, that we've made lame, that we said, oh, that sucks. Oh, I don't have time for that. Journaling. Journaling is so good, especially for the overthinkers out there. If you have a million thoughts, if you're on your phone right now, just think about it. Like, you can really pour out, be a voice recording, writing it down. It feels so good. It's so releasing. Therapy. Setting boundaries for yourself. Saying no. Going to bed early. Now, unless you work at night, there's no real reason to be up at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Unless there's a time where you feel like these are the moments, or these are the time periods where I can release my emotions. Spending the time alone to recharge. Spending time with God. Praying. Talking about your feelings. Praying. And I'm not here to convert or to change anybody, but I will say this. It's okay. It's cool to pray. It's releasing to pray. Spending time with God is very peaceful. Being able to have an exchange is good. But also, to talk more about things that is genuinely healthy. Start talking about your feelings. It's okay. And if you can't talk about your feelings, or if you, because I feel like we've rejected these things that are genuinely healthy as soft, weak, boring. Oh, it's too challenging, so I'm not going to do it. But they're actually some of the most powerful things you can do for yourself. And if you feel like you're in a space where you can't really do any of these things amongst friends, families, loved ones, or this and the third, I suggest you look at it, you challenge yourself for the next idea. So what does it mean to reclaim those things, to make it cool to know yourself? It's okay to be yourself. It's okay to find your community. It's okay to know when it's time for therapy. So what is therapy? That is what we go to today. What is therapy? What is it? What is not? And how to start. So let's get into it. The main event. What is therapy? Therapy at its core is a structured, confidential space where you work with a trained professional to understand yourself, your thoughts, your emotions, your patterns, your history, and develop tools to navigate life more effectively. It is not about being broken, it's about wanting to be better. When is it time to start therapy? Here's my honest answer. Before you think you need it. Because most people wait until they're in crisis. But therapy isn't only a crisis resource. It is a preventative. It's growth oriented. And if you ever felt stuck, overwhelmed, like you keep repeating the same cycle, hurting people, hurting yourself, self-sabotage, that's enough. Those are the right ingredients to say, you know what? Maybe I'll give therapy a try. And you don't have to hit rock bottom to deserve support. You can be in great spaces. Everything's working out just fine and still need therapy. And that's okay. So within saying that, Let's get into the types of therapy. Because there are many types. There's cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, that helps you identify and change negative thought patterns. EMDR, it's especially powerful for trauma. Somatic therapy works through the body. Talk therapy, group therapy, family therapy, art and music therapy. There's even VR therapy I just learned about. But there's no one size fits all. There's no one track. It's not linear. The right type depends on you. So let's talk about what therapy is, right? Not only what therapy is, but the difference between therapy and safe spaces, because that's important. And it's often hard to, we mistake that for the same thing. It's like, oh, I trust my therapist. They're a trusted adult. But I know some of you are thinking, I have my people, I can talk to them, and that's real. That's honest. That's truth. Safe spaces are your trusted friends, your community, your faith group, whoever you consider to be just valuable, are incredibly valuable. But they're not the same as therapy. A therapist is trained, objective, and ethnically bound to support your growth without bringing their own stuff into it. You need both. They serve different purposes. It's like, yeah, sometimes you do need someone that can relate to you, that may understand you, that may have been through similar experiences. But other times you may just need somebody to help you navigate what this really is. It's like, yeah, I'm really angry, and I'm really angry. I'm really angry, and I don't know why. I'm really upset, and I can't put my pen on it. I'm happy, but I've never been happy before, so I don't know how to regulate it. And that's what therapy is for. So as we talk about that, there's another thing that is therapeutic practices over vices. And this one's important. Whether you're stressed, overwhelmed, hurting. Actually, I have a question. When you're stressed, overwhelmed, or hurting, what do you reach for? Do you pray? Do you lean on the Lord? Or do you go for a drink? Do you go for your favorite comfort food, your favorite snack? Do you go for your phone? Do you scroll on social media, doom scroll? Do you work? Do you submerge yourself into work, your studies? I'm not asking from a place of judgment. And these aren't judgmental questions. They're honest ones. What if you reached for a walk? Went on a walk, a journal, prayed, breathing exercise, a call with your therapist or a trusted friend? What will be the outcome then? And the goal isn't perfection amongst these things, and there's no promise to perfection or healing or the momentum of healing or the expectation of healing to be met with what you think. It's building a toolkit that actually helps. Because as much as I advocate, or this episode is about therapy, there's a few misconceptions of therapy that I want to bust right now. Therapy is not for white people. That's false. Or not just for white people. Let me kind of rephrase that again. Therapy is not just for white people. That's false. Another misconception is therapy means that you're weak. Absolutely false. Therapy takes forever. Not necessarily. Therapy is just venting to someone. No, it's venting with direction. Your therapist will judge you. They're trained specifically not to. And here's another one. Therapy costs too much money. Not quite. If any of these have kept you from seeking help, I want you to let them all go today. Finding the right therapist, let's get into that. And this matters because not every therapist will be the right fit. And that is more than okay. Look for culturally appropriate competency. My bad. Look for culturally competency, especially if your background, identity, or lived experience matters to you in that space. It is okay to interview therapists. It is okay to leave one who isn't serving you or you can't relate to. Trust is the foundation of the work. And for those who believe that they just can't find free therapy or they don't know where to find therapy because they just don't have the resources or the money for it, free and low-cost therapy resources are available and are out there. Barriers are real, and I don't want to pretend like they're not, because I carried the same belief for a long time. For the ones that are in school right now, that being in post-secondary education or even in high school, reach out to your counselor. For the ones that are in college, I know for me, going to the college I went to, I took advantage of free therapy. I had to fill out that long bulletin list of things. But once I did, I saw the therapist and I had it for free. But with that being said, I'm going to give you some free and low-cost therapy resources. Open Path Collective often offers reduced cost sessions. There are community health centers, sliding scale therapists, BetterHelp, and Talkspace for online access, university training clinics, and NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, has a helpline and local resources. These are options. These are all options for you to get free and low-cost therapy. Don't let cost be the final answer to why you don't get a chance to do or you don't deserve to heal. So, as I close this episode, I want to finalize one more thing. Me time. The practice of coming back to yourself, right? Before we close, I want to talk about me time. Me time is essentially your day. It is a day, space, or time period that you carve out intentionally to rest, to express yourself, or just to be yourself. Do whatever you always wanted to do, as long as it's morally and legally responsible. I must say that once again. Do whatever you always wanted to do, as long as it's morally and legally responsible. I'm not telling you to break any laws. Don't do anything irrational. Don't do anything harmful to anybody. What I am saying is do something that you've always wanted to do. Ride that bike you always wanted to ride. Go to that concert. Eat that cake. Eat that favorite snack of yours. Cry out loud. Sing at karaoke. Do something that you've always been passionate about doing. And make it your thing. Make it your day, your time period where as you give so much to so many people, make it that time for you. Not what your family wants, not what your followers want, not what your significant other wants, not what your job demands of you, but what you want. Because you owe it to you. Therapy is a great tool, amazing tool. Having a safe space is also amazing. But it's what you do with the tools that you have now that really creates that spark. Me time is therapeutic in itself. It's not selfish. Don't let anybody tell you or make you think that having me time is selfish. It's not. It's not lazy. It is one of the most radical acts of self-love you can commit into a world that constantly demands you to perform, produce, and show up for everyone else first. So as I close this episode, I'm going to give you some homework. Schedule your me time this week. Put it into your calendar. Guard it like a meeting you can't miss, a class that you can't drop from. Because in many ways, it is the most important one that you will ever have. So, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. As you click off on the episode, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And most importantly, schedule that me time. This has been Outreach with Reggie, and I'm thankful for all of you. Please leave a review of the podcast. If this has inspired you in any way, given you a new level of insight, or made you rethink again about where you are, leave a review, reach out, and share with a friend. And remember, getting help isn't giving up. It's showing up for yourself fully and finally. I've been Reggie Holloway, and I'll see you next time.